Hello and welcome to this demo. In this demo, we're going to look at how to automate the deployment of the web application using Ansible Playbook. So first, I'm going to identify the server that I'm going to test this on. So I'm going to shut down the server that I already deployed the application on, and then I'm going to reset the state by restoring to the previous restore point. So I'm going to select system ready and restore snapshot and click on restore, and this is going to restore the server to a previous state. I'm now going to power the server up. So this is my IDE that I'm going to use for developing Ansible playbooks. So you could basically use any IDE that of your preference. I use PyCharm or RubyMine or anything that supports YAML format. So PyCharm is a free community edition of PyCharm is actually free, and you can actually use that, or any other free IDEs that are available out there can be used. So I have this IDE on my Windows system, and the files are to be created on the target Ansible controller Linux system. So first, I've created a folder called demo, and I will have the files created inside this. So first, I'm going to create an inventory file called inventory, and I'm going to define the inventory of my Ansible project. So the two target servers. So instead of target, I'm just going to name them DB and web server 1 and DB web server 2. The Ansible host IP, I'm going to put in the IP of that, the first server, target server, and the password. Similarly, I'm going to create an entry for the second server and use the new IP address for that server. And then I'm going to create a new playbook. I'm going to name it playbook.yaml. I am now going to create a play. I'm going to call the play deploy a web application. I'm going to target the host DB and web server 1 and DB and web server 2. So there are multiple ways of doing that. You can either do it like this, or you can remove the second one and put a star to use a pattern or a wildcard. Or another option is to create a group and put the two servers under that group and then use the group name. So any of these three options work. I'm just going to restore that to my original state, and I'm just going to use the web server names. Okay, and then I'm going to create a task under it. So my first task is just going to be a test. So I'm just going to use the ping module to try a ping. So what I could do is on the Ansible controller system, I'm going to create a directory for the Ansible project. I will call it web deployment, and inside that I'm going to create an inventory file and a playbook file. So I'm going to copy the contents of the inventory file, I'm going to put it in there, and I'm going to copy the contents of the playbook and add it to the playbook. I will show a better way to get around this, so I don't have to copy and paste every time. So if you go to Tools and Deployment, you will find you could add a deployment configuration where the files, your files from your Windows server will automatically be transferred to the Linux server. So I'm going to create a new deployment server, and I will provide the IP of my Ansible controller. I will give it the IP address of the Ansible controller system and the credentials to connect to it. After entering the password, I will test the connectivity, so that's successfully connected. And all I'm going to do is create a mapping between the local folder, which is called demo, and I will map it to the remote folder under root. I will target the new folder that I created on the Ansible controller system. So this way, every file I create here will automatically be transferred. Every change I make will automatically be transferred to this target system. So I'm just going to run a test. I'm just going to make a small change, and I'll have to turn on the automatic upload so that every time I make a change, it automatically pushes it over. So that's good. I'm able to see the change. So it's going to be very easy going forward. So I'm going to run the Ansible playbook with the playbook and the inventory file, and I can see that it's able to ping successfully. That means the connectivity is established successfully. Okay, so now I'm going to modify my first task. I'm going to automate my first task, which is installation of the Python dependencies. So in the manual process, I used apt-get. So here I'm going to use the apt module in Ansible to install the dependencies. So the first dependency is Python. So that's going to be the name of the apt package, and the state is going to be installed. Means so apt is going to install the Python dependency, and I also have a few other packages dependencies to be installed. So what I could do is I could use a loop here, and then so I use the with items directive, and I will add all the required packages as a list, and so I will run the apt module in a loop. So instead of Python, I'm going to add Python as well in the list, and then instead of that, I will use item so that it replaces with each value in the list every time it iterates the loop. So this way I get to all the dependencies installed. The next step is to install and configure database. So there too I'm using the apt-get command. So I will just copy this task. I will create a new task, and I'll just replace the list of packages to install. I'll first update the name, and then I'll just replace the list of packages to install. In this case, MySQL Server and MySQL Client. The next step is to start the database service. So I will use the service module. So I'm going to create a new task and call it start MySQL service. And the service name is going to be MySQL, and the state is going to be started. And I will also set enable to yes. This way, when the server restarts, the service will automatically be started. So the next step is to create database and database users. So we have the MySQL modules for that. So the first task is to create an application database. I'm going to use the MySQL_DB module. The name of the database is going to be employee_DB. And the state is going to be present. The next step is to create a database user. I will use the MySQL_user module to create a new user. If you need more information about any module or what parameters it accepts, you could always refer the module documentation under the module index page on Ansible documentation website. So under MySQL, you can see that you have a MySQL module, MySQL_user module, and these are the parameters that it accepts. So I'm just going to use that here. I'm just going to copy and paste that and then replace the values with the values from the command. I know that name is supposed to be db_user. The password is supposed to be this, and I will leave the permissions to the default. So I'll skip the insert data step, and I'll go ahead with the next one, which is installing Python dependencies. So I will use the pip module to install the Python Flask dependencies. There's a typo. It's supposed to be Flask and not Flash. And I'm going to use the pip module. The name of the module is going to be Flask. But since I have two modules to install, I'll use a loop. So I'm going to use with items, and then I'm going to specify the Python modules I need installed. So Flask and Flask MySQL. And then I'll use the item variable under loop. And the state should be present. The next step is to copy the app.py, which is my source code, to the target server. So I need the source code here for now so that I can copy it over. So I'm just going to create a new file for the application source code, and then I'm going to copy the source code of my application from my GitHub repository over. So this, by doing this, I'm basically creating a local copy of the application source. Another way to do this would be to use the GitHub module to download the application directly from GitHub. But for now, I'm just going to copy the source code over. So I'll create a new task to copy the source code over to the target server. And I will use the copy module for that. So the source is going to be app.py and destination is going to be /opt/app.py. So that's where I'd like the source code to go. So the next step is to start the web server. So I'm going to create a new task to start the web server. And I'm going to copy over the command. The path is not correct. It should be opt/app.py, but I'll get that fixed later. So I'm also going to add a no-hop and an ampersand to run the task in the background. So even when Ansible exits, the web server continues to run. So I'm going to kick off the Ansible playbook, and as you can see, it's established connectivity to the target servers. It's installed all the required dependencies, installed MySQL database, started the server. I'm going to a browser and try and access the web page, and there I can see that the web page is up. I've actually changed the source code, the source of the application to /opt/app.py. So both the servers are up, and I'm able to access the web servers. So that's the end of this demo. Going forward, we'll see how to make this playbook better, how to improve this Ansible project using roles and using host variables by separating variables to separate files, etc. Thank you.